Happy Tuesday. It's Extend the Drive, Best Ball Live. I'm Sean Mitchell, S. Mitchell17. Special episode today. We have our second guest coming on to the show. Very, very excited for this. Doesn't really need just a whole lot of intro. This guy's been a crusher in the DFS space, Millie winner, multiple six-figure scorers. Been in the best ball, or been in not just the best ball content space, but been in the DF space for a long time doing content. Been in the game for as long as I've known. And that some are saying that he's the man with the flannel universe. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Mr. Neil ORFIELD.
What's going on, Sean?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, absolutely, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here. Got my my Timberwolves playing tonight, so excited about that.
Yep, that was going to be a talking point. I know you're from Minnesota, so I was going to ask that. I was wondering how you're feeling tonight going into Game 1 against OKC. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't think that we're not favored. I don't think that we should be favored. I think I told my wife a 35% chance of winning this series. So it's
That's
not hopeless, but
right.
But yeah, we're definitely dogs. But I think I like our chances about as much as I liked our chances last year against Dallas. Maybe not. I think we were maybe favored in that series. As I recall, I believe we actually had home court advantage.
Right.
So maybe the talking heads would not say that we have about the same odds, but I kind of feel like we're back around the same. The Timberwolves have matured a year. They have a year of experience now in the Western Conference Finals. So I'm hopeful, but honestly not expecting that much.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And honestly, I do think they match up well against OKC. I do think that they really do. And, you also got to factor in that they've had a little bit of rest. They've gotten a little bit of race. OKC just went to, the whole gauntlet there of beating Denver. So I think it'll be interesting. I think if they can, squeak out this game right here, they might really have a good look into, advancing into a 2-win or, getting this series where it could be in their favor. So I think it'll be interesting.
As we saw with the Warriors, injuries happen. Like you said, the Thunder just played 7 games, finished Game 7 2 days ago. Yeah. They're a little bit, they're worn down, so injuries may be a little more likely to hurt. Obviously, I'm not hoping for injuries. People have asked me that.
We never hope.
Are you glad this stuff? No, I'm not. I'm not hoping for injuries, but
no.
you got to acknowledge that they're not a team that I think is going to hold up well if they have 4 different guys that if they get hurt, I feel like the Timberwolves suddenly are favored. So you never know.
Yeah. I mean, that is the good thing about that T-Wolves team is they do have a lot of talent. So do think that they're very much in this. I think they're more than live. I'm with you there. I think it's a 35, 40% chance. OKC is a very good team, very well coached, very good on defense, obviously. But the Timberwolves are really good. I mean, they were really good all year. So I think that they'll definitely have a shot. So,
yeah.
Anyway, so Neil, getting into the back into the best ball, I know we went on a little tangent there. So how long have you been doing content? I know that I've been following you, for a long time. I really enjoy a lot of your showdown content. I know you've been doing UFL stuff. I know I really like a lot of your showdown stuff from last year, doing the primetime games. You did a lot of the threads on Sunday nights and Monday nights and stuff of that nature, finding those low-owned plays. So talk to us for a second while I go ahead and get something else pulled up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think I started doing content. Maybe it's been 3 years at this point. I worked. I started doing. I was a guest on. Blender had me on as a guest on his Theory of DFS podcast for about 40 episodes. So I started doing that maybe I think 3 summers ago. And that was just a weekly show that we did. That was fun. And then I started working at Stochastic that summer. Worked there for a year and a half, and now I've been on my own for a little over about a year and a half now. I started up the Flannelverse YouTube channel, a little over a year ago at this point. Started doing some. So originally I was just mostly doing DFS content. The Flannelverse has been started as a best ball channel. And then, I started doing the showdown streams in the fall, which I love doing that. I love showdown is probably my favorite thing to talk about. It's the easiest for me because you can just do a deep dive. It doesn't take that long to do a really deep dive. And it's a format that I've had some success in. I feel like there's edges beyond just knowing players and stuff. So I really enjoy doing that. It's been about 3 years. How long have you been doing content?
So I started doing content free on the free side, just getting a name out there. I was doing NBA, mainly doing NBA DFS. I was doing just player articles, stuff of that nature. I did that for Fantasy Sports Legends way back in the God, I don't even know. It was probably 2017, 2018. And then Fantasy Alarm picked me up. I started doing NBA content for them. I worked for them all the way up until, I guess, right after COVID, I would say. That was when, everything shut down. There was nothing to bet on. There was no teams playing. The traditional sports were all down. So I picked up esports. I started doing the CSGO content, kind of got my name out there doing that, became kind of popular with that. On the DFS side, that was really what nobody else had anything else to do. So did that for a good while. Then my kids started getting a little bit older. I started wanting to do a little bit more with them. So I took, basically just shelved it all, took some time off, still played, but didn't do any content. And then, just here recently decided, what, maybe I should just pick up the stream, kind of like you did with the flannelverse, And by the way, if you look in down below our video here on YouTube, you will find Neil's channel. So go give him a like, go give him a sub, make sure and check that out. Always good content, like I mentioned. But yeah, so I've been doing in and out for 6-7 years. It's a grind. It is a lot of people don't understand how much work goes into the background of doing that stuff. Especially if you've got a family. You're at your computer, which I work from home for the day gig. So I was doing both. It was a side job. And a lot of nights I would be in the office till 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, writing articles, doing, recorded pods for the next day, or whatever it may be. So it was a lot of fun, and it is very rewarding work because, you are helping people win money, which is one of the best things in the world. So it's fun. It's fun. But let's go ahead and get back into the next topic. Now, I know that you are not exactly enthused with where your price came in here in the fantasybestball.com tournament that Mr. Justin Hersey put together. But first, I'll go ahead and give a little pretense into this. If you are not familiar with this, it is fantasybestball.com. So what this is essentially anybody who wants to max enter the Best Ball Mania, which we will be doing a draft here shortly. Anybody who wants to max enter the 150 drafts, they sign up on this website. They put their name in the hat along with everybody else. Essentially, they are assigned a salary dollar amount, and then you get to pick 6 of these folks that you want to select as your DFS team. So essentially, everybody's in the player pool. You pick your team, and then all 150 entries count towards points. I'm not exactly sure the scoring system. I didn't exactly look fully into that. But what do you think about this, Neil? And why didn't this become a showdown where you got a captain? I think that would have been a great format. You get to pick one captain, and then you pick 5 players.
Oh, I love that. This should have absolutely been a captain mode format.
That would have been
awesome. The salaries are like you can play whoever you want basically in this like with the prices here. So that would actually make it a lot more interesting if we did. Sean, I got to be honest with you. I have not read through the rules. From what I understand,
that's really. I was just kind of looking through
it. Advance rate, I believe, is like pretty highly important to this. So a lot of points for just advancing from your pod. Which the only thing I've seen, I was reading some Discord earlier where somebody was saying it was too much focused on the advance rate versus like advancing to week 16, week 17, etc. So that's all I know, but I have not actually read through the rules of this contest. All I looked through was the usernames in the salaries. Yeah, I just looked at the player pool just to see. Because I was curious, like how do you even price something like this?
Right. And we were kind of theorizing, kind of figuring out. If you look, you got your 10K guys here who are essentially guys who have already won, a BBM. So understandably, why they would be the top rank there at 10K, and then it just kind of goes down from there. So there's a lot of, obviously, if you're in the UD streets, if you play on Underdog any at all, if you've played on Underdog, you probably see a lot of these names. Donkey from Shrek, you got Chris Baggs, Dink Piece, Eric Bemufor, you got Nez, you got Peter Overzet. So all these guys, a lot of them are streamers, a lot of them are always in the Underdog game. So, it goes all the way down. So Neil, I want to ask you, because I found you, you're at 7,200. So I got two things to ask. Number one is are you going to remember all 100 plus players in front of you so that you can call it out whenever you win and recite everyone for one? Okay, I figured so.
Before bed, I started last night. I recited every name ahead of me before bed.
And then number two is the low price. Now let me say this: you're not a punt. You know, you're not just like a salary saver. You know, you're kind of that middle premium. You know, need that good floor, need that nice upside piece, and I think that's kind of where you're priced at. But it is maybe you're low price. You kind of got like that Saquon. Like everybody thinks maybe you're tired from all 150 BBM streams you did live last year. Maybe you might have lost a little edge. Maybe you're a little tired. You know, I know me and you, we're old heads here, man. We're getting a little older. Maybe is that the case?
Yeah, this is a Michael Jordan meme, and I took that personally. I mean, come on, 7,200. It's not min price, but also like you can play whoever you want basically because the prices are so soft for this contest. Yeah, super insulting. I'm naming all those names every night before bed. I'm reciting them. I'm ready. I'm going to crush it. This is my year. This is the year. So I will say last year I only advanced 14 teams. I streamed all 150 Best Ball Mania drafts. I assume that has a lot to do with my rank, and I don't think that Justin Herzig, we don't have a long history, myself and Herzig. Like I don't think he really knows much about me, so I'm assuming it's largely looking at advance rates. Other than the people that he knows, I'm sure that he maybe factors in a little bit more from that. But yeah, honestly, I looking through it, I was like, man, this is like I'm so low on this list. This is kind of insulting. But then I look at some of the other prices, and there are other people that I am more insulted for. There are some DFS goats below me on the list. There are, people
I wasn't.
like
Yeah, I didn't want to. I was gonna say I didn't want to get into any beef with anybody saying low. Well, why is this person X amount and why is this person so low? But hey, I'm more than welcome if you want to go ahead and call out some of those goats because hey, some of the viewers here they might be looking to enter this thing. I know was a mention of possible prizes. It's free to enter, so it is free to enter. I know that you can go on. You go over here to the submit lineup. You can go in there. It'll make you list out, your 6 players, and then you've got to take 2 alternates. The alternates have to be, I believe, under 6K. So,
is that right? Okay.
I think that's what I read. So yeah, it says alternates can be any players with a salary of 6,000 or lower, and their salary does not count toward the 50,000 that you had to allocate originally. So you get a $50,000 allocation of salary. You got to make your main 6 picks off of that 50K to amount to 50,000, and then you get 2 alternates at 6K or less. So, it is a fun format. It is something that kind of gets eyes on best ball a little more. I really do appreciate them doing this. It is good entertainment. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to see. I mean, I haven't submitted my lineup yet. It's kind of giving it a little time to see if you get any injury news from some of these streamers or some of these guys later on. And
these old guys. I mean, you don't want to pick me this early. You got to wait till later in the summer.
But exactly. But so anyway, let's catch up quick. CBK's in the chat. What's going on, man? Hartman's in here. Bendels is in here. Best Ball on Call. Appreciate you. We got Big Loaf, who that's what we were talking about before we actually hopped on the stream, who kind of ran some projection-based, some fun stuff. He put it on his Twitter. So if you haven't checked that out, give that a look. He kind of gave some scores in a sheet that I don't know really how he got there. We were kind of talking about that.
I was questioning the notoriety scores, Big Love.
The notoriety scores.
Then particularly for Pat Corain and Shady Advice, like some of the guys that I consider to be like some of the best players out there have really low notoriety scores. So I got to know what that's all about.
That's true. That is true. I want to say this is the Wizard. The FF Wizard is in the chat. Big Loaf says, "Don't check it out. Only check it out for clout." Oh, okay. Loaf. Got to throw his name out there. But anyway, let's do this thing, man. Let's do what we came here to do. I'm excited about this one because I want to see where you're at on BBM. So I did catch you on Overzet's stream, and I also watched you on Greg from Coach Speak. And I want to say that you said you had about 70 or 80 that you were in as far as best ball drafts goes. He said okay. Love says he pulled him out of his butt. So okay, so now we get it, Love. Now we know. But anyway, so you said I'm essentially guessing you probably had which I think you said you were doing more slows, which is some people like those slows. But where are you at? Where are you at as far as drafting goes?
Yeah, I think I did 60 or 70 before the NFL draft. Like that's a different contest set for people who don't know. And I think I think I finished like 3 of my slow drafts. I think my final one is going on right now. And I actually did 4 fast drafts this afternoon as well. So I think I'm at,
nice.
I don't know, maybe 20 or so post draft. So not a ton yet. I haven't done any BBMs yet. Saving those bullets. So far I've just been doing the mini schnauzers or poodles, that kind of stuff.
The other puppies
Anthony says slow drafts are the superior option. Sean, what you got to know about slow drafts is you just need to do like at least 20 of them at a time, because you get bored if you
it gets really fun, right?
But if you do a bunch, then it's like, then you wake up and you're on the clock in 6 of them. So then it's a lot more fun if you do a bunch at a time. Yeah,
I don't know, man. Which to me, I enjoy doing the fast drafts because I like when people have to make a quick decision. I like that I get that it doesn't really matter in the whole scheme of things, because slow draft versus fast draft, the slow drafters are still gonna get their drafts in regardless. But for me, I like to always. I am a manual drafter. I've never autoed anything. I do manually all my drafts. I've done that ever since I've started best ball, and that's just I don't know. It's just been a personal preference. Like I got into a slow whenever the Schnauzer was getting close, and I was pretty angry because they'd swapped it to slow and I didn't know it. And I was like, wait a minute, why is there 8 hours for the next pick? And I'm like, what is going on here? So anyway, I like to do fast, but we are in the BBM. This is a 30-second clock. We have the FFB Wizard is in here. I know of Chaz Michael Michelson, CBK in the 9. Joe Pano's in here. If you're also in here, let us know. Well, we are almost on the clock, Neil, so that you know what that means. It's up to you. Where are we going here?
I like the exact order that you have it in.
Okay.
This would be.
That would be perfect for you. So Justin Jefferson, Bijan, CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs are the top 4 on in terms of ADP. Let's see what the 3-hole does here. Looks like we started with Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley. It looks like Bijan is going to be the start.
Let's do it.
Bijan it is. We could be starting high T. We'll see. So let's talk about your structures that I noticed, and I also think I heard you say that you are going to be doing a lot of the zero running back. Is that still something that you are fully into this year? I know that was a very, very hot topic last year.
It was, and it did not go very well. My version of zero RB went particularly poorly because all of my zero RB target running backs either got hurt or just awful. So it was just like, I've got like 6 of these guys and like none of them are useful at all. My running back rooms are just dead. I do think I'll do a fair amount of zero RB again this year. I do think I'll probably get back to more like hero/anchor RB. So I'll probably take one running back somewhere in the first 5 rounds or so in most drafts. It really, I think I'm turning it back to a bit more value-based drafting with just like a little bit of eye towards wanting to take receivers early. So I love the early tight ends, the top 2, I should say in particular. And that there are a lot of good running backs this year. So it's hard to not want to take some of them when they're falling pretty late. But in general, I think I'm going to be doing a lot of like maybe one running back pretty early, but taking a lot of wide receivers pretty early too.
Right. Yeah, there are a ton of good running backs, and I think a lot of them are getting to be a bit undervalued. You've gotten some that are slipping, like Kyron, Josh Jacobs, guys that were just straight up great plays last year that were in the 3rd, 4th round, and they're starting to fall back a little bit. I'm starting to see as these drafts go post draft. One thing that I wanted to bring up was the Davis Maddock, the boomer ball discussion he had here a couple of days ago, which somehow I caught a stray in that. I don't know how. I guess I got lumped in as a boomer. I don't know, but it was essentially taking like 4 to 5 running backs in your first 4 to 5 picks. But the thing is there was also some data that was actually put out, I guess, a couple of days. I forgot who did it now, and I apologize if it was you. But essentially, the advance rate was almost 25% if you did, I think, up to 4 running backs within your first 5 picks. What's your take on that? And do you feel like that is even a viable strategy?
Sure, it's a viable strategy. Like if you can draft pretty much however you want. I mean, that's somewhat an exaggeration. You probably don't want to take 2 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds. But yeah, it's definitely viable to take 4 running backs in the first 5 rounds or whatever. But I think last year was an anomaly. Like I think we had Saquon and Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs and several of these running backs were going a lot later than they are right now. So it just worked
Right.
out that you could get 4 of these elite guys really early and probably later than they should have gone, or at least like based on the results, they went later than they should have.
Yeah.
I think this year, like the running backs have been pushed up so much further than they were last year that it's probably not a strategy that I'm going to employ very often. I'm not opposed to it. Like you, I'll be doing some guest streams, and if my guests are like, let's take running backs here, I'm not gonna push back.
Right.
But I still think like the basis for zero and hero RB, like the reason that we want to do it is running backs that you can get in late rounds. If you take an RB2, are much more likely to pop up and be like, this guy suddenly is projecting for 15 fantasy points.
Right.
There are very few late round wide receivers that are going to project for 15 fantasy points. All right, let's see.
AJ McBride, T. Higgins, Josh Jacobs, Garrett Wilson. What are you thinking?
I'm a McBride guy. I like these two early tight ends, and then take a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I'm more than fine with McBride. I think he it's definitely like and how do you feel about Brock Bowers? I mean, are you taking Brock Bowers anywhere he's going? Are you? Okay.
Oh, I take him at the turn sometimes.
And that's
top
been
of the second round.
You're right, and that's been a question that I've seen a lot too. Is if Ashton Genty is going where he's going, Brock Bowers is going where he's going. How can they both pay off? So what's your thoughts on Ashton Genty? Let me put it that way.
I like Ashton Genty too. I mean, how can they both work? I think it's just if the offense is really good, like the offense just surprises us. Geno Smith, I think a pretty clear upgrade over any quarterbacks they played last year.
Right.
So I just think that the offense could take a step forward.
Right.
It might not be easy for it to work out, but there are several teams that we have 2 players going in the first 2 rounds. So I think it can work out, particularly with the quarterback upgrade. Maybe not the likeliest scenario, but I'm not opposed to that double click sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have Josh Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, Jason, Rashee Rice, Devontae Adams. What are you thinking here, Neil?
I think I lean toward another receiver. I'm kind of a Rashee Rice guy this year, which maybe is foolish. We've got the Devontae. We could do the week 17 correlation with Bijan if you prefer. For me, it would be Rashee Rice, though. Okay,
then that's what we're going to go. You're the guest. You get to make the picks. But I think, going back to that whole scenario, what we were just talking about with the Genty Bowers, if you remember last year, it was, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, where both guys were up, which, of course, this is a totally different situation now because it's not Aaron Rodgers. It is which I'm not trying to dog Aaron Rodgers here. We all know the situation. Guy coming off, 40-year-old coming off an Achilles. He was kind of bound to have a rough year. So he did. It ended up being a rough year. The offense was not good. Breece Hall played injured. Garrett Wilson was not getting, at least fed. He was getting fed, but he wasn't getting fed every game. And then they brought on Devontae Adams. So that just totally spoiled that whole thing. And I think there are likely some people who have a sour taste in their mouth after, that scenario.
Yeah. And it was kind of a bad bet at the time, because he was so old. It was just like, we all remember how good Aaron Rodgers was. And we're kind of wish casting, could he be that guy again? But it just wasn't meant to be when he's 41 and coming off an Achilles injury.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. I don't see, there's not just a ton of teams that have that same scenario. You don't see a lot of guys on similar teams who have a top 15, 2 guys in the top 15. So it is an interesting one because we don't really know how good the Raiders are going to be. But I'm with you on that I do believe that they take a step up. I do think that the Raiders are going to be a better team. I feel like their defense did enough to close out the end of last year. They looked pretty good. Their offense, even behind Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, were still putting up points. They ran the Chiefs really close, which we all know the Chiefs were kind of just squeaking by in a lot of their games. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting aspect, and I do feel like it'll be pretty hard for both of them to pay off a first round tag. But which of course, Brock kind of falls into the second, and I have been kind of seeing him go into that 18, 19 range a lot more lately. So, but it is interesting.
It's also if Brock Bowers were a wide receiver, that's where his designation was on underdog, maybe I would like it less, but because he is tight end eligible and tight ends don't score that many fantasy points, and he is he could have 110 catches this year. He could be targeted just a ton this year. So I just think because you can get a lot of fantasy points at the tight end position. You don't need quite as much. So he's probably going to be their top, almost certainly going to be their top target as long as he's healthy. So yeah, I just think the upside is there. Obviously, there's downside. I also drafted a lot of Marvin Harrison last year, which in retrospect is like, that was probably not the best bet. I probably was falling for the name recognition a little bit. But I think it's a pretty good bet with these two. We saw, because we already saw it with Brock Bowers, and Genty should get the workload right away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I fully think that Genty is going to get thrown right into the fire. Obviously, there's not another back on that roster that makes any sense to steal any kind. Raheem Mostert, 32-year-old guy coming, from Miami, where he had kind of the injury, which he had a really good year the year before, and everybody was, astounded by how good he was. Scored a lot of touchdowns. With that being said, we are coming up on the clock, so I do want to get your thoughts on the next pick. So we do have a Bijan, Rashee Rice, Trey McBride start, 1-1-1-1. Where are you feeling right now, and what's your takes?
I do think it's a pretty good spot to target a wide receiver here.
Agreed.
Either DJ Moore or Devonta Smith would be my preference of these receivers.
I like that.
I'm not like opposed to Zay Flowers or any of these look pretty good, but I think those two would be my preference, and they go.
I was going to say, of course they both go. So yeah, Zay, or are you thinking? What do you think?
Do you want to leave an out as far as stacking later? Because we could do that with a JMO. I haven't taken a lot of JMO, so we could do that to get a little bit of
I like JMO
a little bit.
Yeah, and Goff really goes. I mean, I've seen him go 10 to 15 picks past a lot.
Yeah.
People absolutely hate that mid-range pocket passer. They just can't. They can't get there. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen Goff have some big games.
Right. And I think there's a lot of worry about the Ben Johnson leaving. What's your take on that? Do you feel like the Lions as an offense regress a whole lot? Do you feel like they kind of? I don't really feel like they take a big hit. Like I think that it kind of still sticks to the scheme, and it kind of flows through the main players, right?
I kind of think that he brought them a way of thinking. They've already done this, so like I think Ben Johnson. While I do think he can improve the Bears offense greatly, I do think like they've already kind of seen how his offenses work, how his mind works. So I'm not expecting like a huge drop off, and they're just a really talented group too.
Right, like he's kind of laid the mold, right? So like it's not really hard to continue shaping it as it's already been. The foundation's already been laid, right? So I totally agree. They've got the good pieces in place. They've got very talented guys all around the offensive side. So fully agree there. We are up on the clock again in 2 picks. Wizards about to pick now. He goes Chuba Hubbard. Where are you thinking? What are you thinking, Neil?
I'm gonna wait a second to see who this person takes.
Not I do
have a strong lean here, but actually there are a couple different ways we can go. So it's actually not that big of a deal. But I'm still gonna wait. Because I have a preference between.
I did join the 30-second because I wanted to be able to talk through picks. I wanted to give it 20-second picks. They go a lot faster. Wanted to be able to give us time to talk through stuff, and then now it's up to you.
So I almost backtracked and said Cortland Sutton for the last pick because we have Rashee Rice, so we get the little Week 17 correlation with Rashee Rice and Cortland Sutton. And I actually don't have a ton of Cortland Sutton either. So we're taking several players that I don't have a ton of exposure to. We could have gone RJ Harvey if he had taken Sutton, but my preference is to go with another wide receiver.
Yeah. Okay. Which going with Bijan, spending that kind of capital, I totally agree there. And Sutton, expects to be the one here. Played really well last year with first year Bo Nix. So totally agree. And of course, that Cincinnati, like you said, or I'm sorry, the KC, that's what we're talking about. Rashee Rice, Cortland Sutton. That is definitely going to hopefully be a strong shootout. Totally agree there. And I think that's a good pick. I do have some Sutton, and not to mention we got a few points there on the ADP. So fully agree there. I think that's a good look. So we now have a 1-3-1 Bijan, Rashee Rice, J-Mo, Cortland Sutton, and Trey McBride. I think this is a pretty stellar start, man. I'm really liking it.
Like we've got elites at running back and tight end. Our wide receivers are that's a strong top 3, 4. So I'm feeling good about this team. Yeah. And we have outs as far as stacking. Like all of these that we've taken have their quarterback still available.
Yeah, and I mean even Pat Mahomes, which we know that he has not exactly been the Pat Mahomes of the 19 to 22, but he is still liable to put up 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns on any given week. He is getting back Rasheed Rice. He is getting back hopefully a healthy Hollywood Brown. Xavier Worley's now now in the mix. I know they're obviously getting Kelsey back. So I mean, how do you feel about the Chiefs as a whole? How do you feel about them for fantasy? Are you trying to be heavy on them? Are you trying to be overweight? Or you just think that it's something you'll be at field on?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like. I guess I am. I don't feel like I've been like really going on my way, but I do think like where they're going. I like where Rasheed Rice is going. I like Xavier Worthy a little bit that next round, especially
Right.
if he falls a little bit. I prefer Rasheed Rice over Xavier Worthy, but Worthy clearly has mega upside as well.
Yeah.
I don't love Kelsey unless I've already done a Chief stack. Like I worry that they're going to continue to kind of use him sparingly in the season because they don't really need to because they want to save him for the playoffs a little bit. But then Hollywood Brown goes, in
super late.
Pretty late. So I like
in a very valuable range.
Yeah. So I guess overall I kind of do like Chiefs. Then I do end up taking a good bit of Mahomes just because I like where Rasheed Rice is going. I like where Xavier Worthy is going. So I end up taking Mahomes. And I think they could take a step forward. I think it's good that they didn't win the Super Bowl last year as far as their values this year.
That's true.
Because
That's
maybe
true.
because they might be a little bit more motivated to like, okay, it didn't work last year doing the like slow pace thing. Of course, they probably aren't because it has worked for them before.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I like to tell myself that they're going to be more motivated to pass it a little bit more.
I agree. I do think that once you lose something like that as a competitor, anybody that's ever played sports knows that, once you lose something heartbreaking like that, and obviously it was not exactly a heartbreaker. They got torched.
They got crushed, yeah.
That's that they're probably going to be replaying that Super Bowl video in their locker room, all the way up until the next one if they make it there. So I fully agree with that. One thing that I was interested in, and I saw Travion Henderson go there at 61, and I kind of wanted to get your take, which I'll do that after this pick since we are on the clock in 3 picks. So, 4 picks. Let's see what Neil is thinking of here at the 69 spot. What are you thinking, Neil?
Yeah, this is kind of a tough one for me. Like I don't see anybody that I absolutely love here. Godwin, I guess, kind of interesting. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about like aging and injury concerns, but I have drafted a good bit of Godwin. I'm not opposed to it. Olave, I'm concerned about the quarterback situation, but obviously he's fallen enough at this point that we could go there. I wouldn't take Burrow if I don't have either of Chase or Higgins personally.
Right.
Is Jawan Jennings still there? I would often no, he went already.
Yeah, he went.
Yeah, it's gross. I'd say take your pick between those top 3 receivers is probably what I would do.
Well, I'll be honest. I take a lot of Godwin. Just because of the simple fact that they are saying he's going to looking good for week 1. He was on track to absolutely dominate. Last year. He was going to absolutely smash, and then he got gets the big injury, and then he's out for the rest of the year. We never get that. We didn't get to see what he would actually do with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield goes on to have one of the best seasons of his career. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Going to wins up overweight on Hollywood because of Valley. I agree. Like I think Hollywood is a value too. And I know that Neil, obviously, we just talked about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Hollywood is definitely a value. But yeah, I like Godwin. Me as a whole, I really like that week 17 game too for Tampa Bay.
No, I'm trying to remember which one who's Tampa Bay playing.
They are playing, and you have to make me pull it up because I forgot too. I know it's a really good game. They are playing the Dolphins.
Oh, that's right. Home. Yeah. South Florida Bowl. Yeah.
Exactly. And, the weather's good. Hopefully everybody's healthy at that point. I have started now since, post NFL draft and now post schedule have been taking a lot more, which I was already taking a lot of Bucks. I was already a big fan of the Buccaneers. We are 1 spot away here.
Could go get our quarterback if you wanted to. Take Mahomes here.
We could go Mahomes.
Wouldn't be opposed to Diggs if you want to set up a Drake May stack.
Okay.
Either of those.
What do you think? Do you think you just want to go ahead and secure Mahomes since we did kind of, spend a little on Rice there? Or do you think that we should maybe push it and maybe have a chance to
let's
get
take
both.
digs. Let's take digs. Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. I am a big fan of pushing Mahomes because honestly, it feels like people don't really want him. I mean, from from the drafts that I've been doing, he lasts until his ADP is right around 83, and I've seen him go to the 90s. I've seen him go more than a few times go into the 90s. So
Yeah.
I do think that we have a chance.
It felt like last year, like he just like never got there, and they would keep winning, and it was just like low scoring games. They just didn't put up the value.
And dunking. Right.
So like I was in on them last year to some extent, and I I'm willing to draft Mahomes again this year. Again, I wouldn't have been opposed to taking him there, but like I get why people are out because everybody was super excited. Last year we thought the defense is going to get worse. All the pass catchers are better. People were all excited about it, and then it was gross almost all year. Like I felt like every week he was kind of letting us down. So I have no issue with pushing, especially when we do. Again, we have all of our quarterback outs still remaining.
Right, and that was another point I was going to make too. It's like whenever you have this many outs left over still, and you're only what are we in round 7 here, so going into round 8, I just feel like you don't really have to take the early quarterback because you're going to have so many stacking options later on. And yeah, it was so DC. Yeah, Dave, thank you for bringing that back up. It was with the whole Ramondre Stevenson coach speak today with Vrabel saying, "Hey, he's going to be So Coach, it was actually Coach Speak Index who posted the clip, but Mike Vrabel come out and said, "Hey, Ramondre Stevenson, he's going to be a huge part of what we do this year," and this kind of sent Twitter in a flurry because everybody's darling Travion Henderson. Everybody thinks that he's essentially going to just fully take over this backfield, and Ramondre, being that he was from a whole different coaching staff, whatever, they think, oh, well, Travion's going to be the lead back, regardless. And now that the coach speak comes out, which it is May, you got to take all this stuff with a grain of salt. But it is important to listen to these things. I think it does allow you, especially a guy like Ramondre Stevenson, who's going in the 120s now, after, they drafted Travion Henderson. What's your feel on that? Are you drafting Travion? How do you feel about that backfield as a whole?
Yeah, so I've drafted more Ramondre Stevenson than Travion Henderson so far, which is mostly where they're going. Just like in the range that Henderson is going, I'm often targeting receivers, so I don't end up with a ton. I also, honestly, I use the Sidekick tool. So usually when I'm drafting, and I feel like he has rarely been in like the top 5 players on my queue. So maybe they rank him a little bit worse, and I've failed to get him because of that. I probably need to like mix up some drafts that I just do like on my phone, not using a tool. I like to do those as well.
Right.
Really we're going for okay, Mahomes goes. Is Bo Nix? Yeah, Bo Nix is still there. So
Bo Nix is here. We can
as is Kyler Murray still there.
I mean, we got Baker, we have Bo Nix, Kyler Murray still there. It's pretty much take your pick at quarterback here. Which one?
Who's the top in ADP? I guess
it is Baker. We do have Chris Godwin. I mean, that's up to you.
Yeah,
you want to do Baker?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an interesting topic, and I know it's kind of died down a little bit lately, but it was definitely a very, very hot topic. The tools, the draft assistants. PTR came out with their version. I think it was, I watched the whole Peter Overzet. When they brought it. I watched the lows. He brought Levitan on. And I totally agreed. Like it got blown out of way blown out of proportion, just because everybody saw the solver name, which is just the name of the company that made it. But I've always been. I don't use the tools. I do my own rankings. I haven't used the tool. I don't really use the tools, but I don't mind it. I don't mind them at all. I don't really feel like it gives you. And that was kind of my thesis was you got a 17 game season here. It's not just a showdown slate. It's not a 1 week season. This is there's so much variance. Like it's not going to help you out that much. And so feel free to give your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean it's impossible to solve this game. Like people are really nervous about like this is not poker where exactly the value of every player and like you do with the hands in poker. It's impossible to solve best ball. Obviously, players are going to be better if they use more advanced tools. Like it's going to be tougher competition. the better the tools get. Sure, I would love playing in the Wild West where people are taking 4 quarterbacks, and but I'd probably go another quarterback here.
Okay. I mean, Kyler's there. We got Bo.
Yeah, I'd be fine with either of those.
Matches, so
where is Drake May's ADP? Because we could also
he's down here a little bit. He's down here at 123.
Oh, we could push it.
Right
we could take a running back instead if you wanted to. I like Jordan Mason. I wouldn't be opposed to Cam Scadaboo if he's your pick.
No, this is your show. This is you're the guest. I'm picking what you want to pick. So you tell me what you want, and we're gonna go with that because hey, you're the guest, and we know how this goes. But
the Vikings need help scoring at the goal line. They were just awful at the goal line last year. I think they kind of brought Jordan Mason in because they think he can be the goal line back this year. He was one of the leaders in the NFL in explosive run rate last year. Just like it looked really good. So I'm excited to see what Jordan Mason can do on the Vikings, even if it is. I think it's going to start as a 1A, 1B situation with Jordan Mason as the 1B. But I think that he is, we kind of like to target back-weighted production. I think Jordan Mason could be a player that really has some of that back-weighted production, which was also what I was saying about Travion Henderson. I have no real issue with where he's going. I don't think I've taken any, but I don't have any issue with it because I do think he is the type of player, type of profile that we do want to target in best ball because he could really come on in the second half of the season, be kind of a lower advance rate player who's just crushing by the time we get to the playoffs. And Ramondre, the coaches might love him going in. If he fumbles it a few times, they might not love him anymore. So there's always that out to get Travion in there.
And that's a great segue to another topic, which is another thing that's been kind of firing on Twitter with Liam Cohen going into his presser yesterday, and they said, "Hey, how's Tootin doing?" And right off the bat, he says, well, we put it on the ground today," and just blew up Twitter because everybody is all thinking that Tootin, obviously, these rookies that's the most fun part of this part of the drafting cycle is that the fact that everybody wants the rookies to be the guy. They want them. They want it so bad. They see the new shiny tools. Yep. They've watched them in college. They've seen how good they are. But it is a different level in the NFL. And for one thing, NFL coaches do not give up. They don't do good with fumbling. Fumbling is a major issue, and it will get you benched in a hurry. So, what's your thoughts on Tootin? What's your thoughts on that Jacksonville backfield? Where are you leaning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to overreact to one fumble, of course. Sure. If it continues to be an issue throughout the summer, then yeah, I think it is something that we're going to have to factor into our decision making. Yeah. I think Tank Bigsby was not that bad last year. Two years ago, he seemed like he was just terrible. Last year, he actually broke away. Had a little bit of had some explosive runs last year. I think Travis Etienne still a pretty talented back. So I don't know that it's as cut and dry as people want it to be, how this backfield is going to shake out. Ultimately, I kind of just take them based on ADP. I think this is kind of, if one of them's falling in a spot that I want, I'll take them.
Right.
I don't have a particularly strong opinion. I'm hoping to develop some stronger opinions on some of these backfields as we get deeper into the summer. We get more coach quotes. We see more in practice. But yeah, as of right now, it's a tough situation to read for me. I'm willing to take any of the three where they're going, though. I think ETN probably the one I'm taking the most right now.
And me too, which is funny because I haven't readjusted my ranks since I did them pretty much after the schedule came out, and I haven't touched it since. And I've actually been taking a lot more ETN lately too, because I feel like he could be the one that could emerge and still stay the lead back, especially if Tootin does not, correct this fumbling issue. I didn't really think that Tootin was going to come in and just take over early down the full load. I didn't think that was going to happen in the first place. I still don't think that's going to happen. But I do still think it's going to be a mix. But I do think, and it seems like the public, the market has spoken. You see Tank Bigsby down here in the 150s, ETN's in the 120s, and then of course you got Tootin, where did he go in this one? Yeah, he went at 108. So the market is fully spoken on what they feel. I'm kind of like you. I have taken Tootin whenever he's kind of fallen, and I feel like I need that, kind of ceiling play where I'm shooting for the long shot, because I do think that he's going to have some explosive plays. I do think he's going to probably have some of those long, either catching touchdowns or rushing, gets a couple carries, bangs one off or, 90 yards or whatever. But my bets right now are typically on ETN because he's been falling into the late 120s. And I'm honestly, I haven't been drafted Tank, so I guess I'm part of that market that's not really confiding in him much. But we are up on the clock. But that I know that one. I know Maddox obviously posted about that the other day. It's like whoever picks the right one in that group is going to win everything. And that's generally where you get this, these ambiguous backfields. Which there are quite a few this year.
I mean, I tried all pieces of the Denver backfield last year. And
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, it was like, somebody's going to be great here. Just look at Sean Payton backfields, and it's just no.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, I was definitely in there with you on that one. So it was painful. It was very, very painful. You kept getting the coach speak of SMA. He's going to play more next week. He's going to play, And then Jaleel McLaughlin is still coming in a lot. And it's like, oh, my gosh, what are we doing? So what are we feeling here, Neil? It's a bit of a
quarterback, I'd say.
Run here.
Yeah, we could do Goff. We could do probably Drake May for me. What are the buys? Do we have any buy concerns here?
We don't. Goff is on 8. Drake May is 14. So it's more of a preference. What are you feeling?
I'd say Drake May. Just younger, more fun.
Let's do and the rushing. It is rushing upside there. Goff obviously does not have that. So yeah, Drake May. Going to be a very fun player. Second year, gets a new coaching staff. Are you pretty high on Drake May?
So I'm a big believer in JJ McCarthy. So I've been I've taken the stance, and I don't fully believe it, but I've just to be contrarian, I've been telling people that JJ McCarthy is going to outscore Drake May this year. I think it's kind of a toss up, to be honest.
Honestly, I think it's closer than people think. I
think it is too. I think Drake May has the rushing. You love the rushing upside. JJ McCarthy might too. JJ did some, and he liked to run in college. He's obviously returning from injury, so we don't really know how much.
The knee injury, I think, is the what people worry about the most, especially with the quarterback rushing. But I'm with you, man. I like JJ McCarthy. He's probably one of my top 10, 8 even, maybe highest on quarterbacks right now. There was nothing but good stuff talking about him being fully ready for the season. He was going so late which he's moved up, quite a bit now since pre-draft. But yeah, that's right. Neil knows ball. That's right. JJ McCarthy. I agree. I like JJ. I think he's going to do really well this year. But we are about to be on the clock, Neil. So we have a 2-2-5-1. What are you thinking? Not really a ton of running backs in this range. You do have the Ramondre there if you want to pair up Drake May. We can always get Hunter Henry as a tight end late. What are you feeling?
I'd be fine with going Ramondre or Rashid Shaheed, or even triple quarterbacking with Goff. Those would be my three.
Do that? You want to get weird?
Let's do that. Okay. Yeah.
We have a solid running back room. I feel like, like you said, Jordan Mason got the coach speak on, that they struggled last year around the goal line, and that was exactly why they brought him in. He was really good in San Francisco in the spell of CMC. And that leads me to another one. Let's get your take on CMC here. I know CBK is a huge CMC guy in the chat, and I'm sure he wants to hear this too. So what's your take on CMC this year? How are you feeling? Are you believing that he's fully healthy, or do you have any reason to not believe that?
Well, he's older than he was. So we've already seen CMC go through this cycle of he was hurt. Everybody gave up on him. And he was like, I had him on my keeper league fantasy team, couldn't trade him away. Nobody would buy a CMC. And then he just dominated the following year. So we have seen that cycle with CMC already. And he's in a great offense. So I kind of think he's appropriately priced, because I do think he still has the upside to be the best running back in the game because of the offense that he's in. If he is fully healthy and he's getting the full workload in San Francisco, and he should, he's based on their running back room, I would expect if he is fully healthy, he will get the full workload in a great offense. He wasn't as efficient last year. So which is a concern, but also he'll still be efficient in that offense probably and getting a lot of work. So honestly, where I come back to is, I think early second round to me feels appropriate. I think CBK took him at the 107. I have no issue with it. If that's the stand you want to take, I don't have an issue with it. I think especially if you're only doing a handful of drafts, I think that if you're taking him at the 107 every time, you got to be ready for some volatility. It's risky. So I don't have a hot take on CMC. I kind of think that the market is pricing him appropriately because he has mega upside, but I think it's not super likely to hit, given that he's, you know, been a little bit, he was less efficient last year, coming back from an injury, getting
Right.
older, all those concerns, and an injury history at this point. Like he does have a bit of an injury history. So
Right.
where do you fall? Where do you fall in CMC, Sean?
I don't have a ton, man. I'm just going to be honest, and CBK knows my stance. You know, I mean, that's why I think it is kind of like half and half. I think the market is literally half and half on him because simply he stays where he's at in ADP. I feel like he will move up if we get any more news that he is still completely healthy. You know, we've already got Clay Kubiak saying that we're going to feed him the ball. You know, he's going to get the ball a bunch. So that's already getting people, you know, back in that. Oh, it's CMC again. You know, it's his time again. People forget about how good he's been. We know how good he is. We know that. Yeah. But like you mentioned, he is another year older. He has dealt with some, you know, ongoing issues, the calf, the tendonitis, you know, all that stuff plays a part on a body, especially as you get older. I mean, I know that 28, 29 years old is not just old. But when you've been training and you've had the mileage that he's put on, just kind of like Derrick Henry, but for some reason, Derrick Henry and I'm not going to say he doesn't get hurt because I know he'll get hurt and I don't want to knock on wood, but CMC's not had that luxury. He's not had that luxury. We haven't fully seen, you know, the age cliff for most of these running backs in that age be able to do this. They haven't been able to continually put up huge, you know, running back seasons like Derrick Henry. He's a unicorn by his own self. So that's my line of thinking is if he beats me where he's going at cost, you know, I have him ranked around the 19-20 range. That's me. I don't take him a ton. I have taken him in some instances at the turn, but a lot of the time I'm passing, and I'm usually taking like a wide receiver there. So
yeah,
that's kind of my
like the old saying is you can't win your fantasy draft in the first round, you can lose it in the first round, and I feel like that's part of the trepidation. There's this in all of our minds. It's like, well, he'll be great when he plays, but like he's probably going to miss a lot of time. Like just at this point, it just feels
inevitable, right?
Yeah, which is, you know, he could be great. CBK says, but if he's himself, it's auto advance.
Is he though? What can we still fully expect? And we're on the clock, so let's go ahead and make this pick real quick. You feeling a running back? Because we are definitely in a running back run here, or tight end.
I'd be fine with Javonte, I guess. Like I haven't taken a ton of Javonte. I prefer to just wait on, but I don't love the tight ends here really either.
Yeah,
this is a gross range.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, since he's falling, and I'm not. He's falling quite a bit. Yeah, I'd just take him here.
I mean, he's got good ADP value here. I think it's a decent scope. I mean, you got 20 picks of ADP here, so it's kind of hard to pass on that kind of value.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it is a good bet. He is a running back 3-4s. We've got two solid backs. If he is dust, I don't think he's going to absolutely kill us, but he could help us literally be an advance right there if he does happen to be the guy in Dallas all year long. With that being said, we are coming right back up on the clock again at the 148. We have a 3-3-5-1. We have Baker Mayfield, Drake May, Jared Goff at quarterback. Currently have Bijan, Jordan Mason, Javonte Williams at the running back spot. At wide receiver, Rashee Rice, J-Mo, Cortland Sutton, Godwin, Stephon Diggs, and then we have Trey McBride. What are you thinking here?
I'd say we add on to our stack with Jalen McMillan.
Okay. You want to take McMillan and double up the Baker stack?
Yeah. I mean, he's probably the wide receiver 4 there, but he has some many outs to getting in and being pretty strong.
Absolutely.
He was pretty good when he was on the field last year. And old guys ahead of him too. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. So who knows? Maybe he starts ahead of Guka too. Probably not, but you never know. There are outs there.
Okay, yeah, the CMC talk got everybody chattering. Seeing him go at 1-2-1-3, and then the entire 10-12. I get that, but I also think that there's a lot of really valuable guys in that range too. You're talking, BTJ falls to the 13-14 sometimes. Neighbors I've seen fall a little bit at times, but you're still talking about some really good players. But can CMC be the one? Absolutely. But we've kind of already had that conversation. Yeah, I have not seen. I will say personally, I have not seen CMC go 1-1, 1-2, or 1-3. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
I've
haven't
seen
either.
him go earlier than 1-7.
I believe it though. Like I'm not doubting that your story is true, but
Right. Yeah, I
I've
fully
never.
believe it. I fully believe it because I've seen some crazy stuff. I've seen Genty go, the 1-2 a few times. I've seen who was it the other day? I think I saw BTJ go 2 the
Yeah,
other day in a puppy. I mean, the puppy streets, you can tell people are just absolutely getting out there and getting wild with the drafting right now.
yeah. Flip the board. I mean, I got no issue with people wanting to flip the board. I
No.
don't usually flip it that early in the draft, but
Right.
sure, no issue.
All right. So we did tack on another wide receiver. We're at 3-3-6-1. I really like the build that we got going here. We've already kind of solidified our quarterback room. We spent the early capital on the tight end. I think the balance is really good because we can tack on a couple of running backs late for upside. We've kind of solidified a good six wide receiver room, and I feel like our bye weeks are good, and we've got some week 17 stacks. So I think this is a really strong looking build so far.
It's a beauty, and I'm liking the running backs in this range. Now we've got a little while until our pick is up, so who knows if any of them will be back there.
Right.
But yeah, I think probably running back is where I'm looking next. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of the ones that I wanted go.
And I was going to
already.
say, yeah, there's a few in here,
But
and
there's still some. Yeah.
which ones are your? And of course, you don't have to name them if you don't want to fully give it out. But what are some of your favorite late round running backs? Because I know that's always a topic, and it's a tough one because a lot of people, they really have strong convictions on their late running backs. And I made a tweet about Jerome Ford, and it just absolutely went crazy. People had a lot of takes on Jerome Ford.
Yeah.
But he has kind of essentially went from a 150 guy at pre-draft to now going essentially undrafted in a lot of drafts.
I think he's a strong late round value. Like he's probably two rookies drafted probably indicates that they don't want to lean on Jerome Ford, but also
right.
like I'd be kind of surprised if he goes away completely. They just hand things over to the two rookies.
Yeah, I mean, but that's been kind of the entourage the last couple of years, right? Because Chubb was the lead and Jerome was and then even last year, like they were still giving Deontay Foreman. I mean, they were
right.
Until Chubb came back, it was never going to be the Ford show. Like, right. And I think that's what people are missing. He might be listed as the one, but he's not going to be the one. But I do think that he is a very good pass catcher. And I do think that in those being in that spell role, we saw him break off a lot of good runs last year. We're on the clock. I know you said you probably want to go running back.
I'd be between. I like both these top picks, Rico Dowdle and Roschon Johnson.
You have a preference?
I think Rico, because I think Carolina's just going to run the ball a ton.
And they get Seattle at home in week 17, which we don't have any Seattle, but I like that matchup. So I'm there with you, which I am a Rico guy. I'm a big Rico Dowdle guy. Plus, it helps with our bye weeks because we would have been, tying up week 5 there, which we're not too awful worried about tying up Bijan. But it does keep our bye weeks intact if we do happen to only tack on another 1 or 2 running backs, which I don't know, your thoughts on that. But I do like Rico. I think he's a strong pick this year. I do think he's going to be in the mix. I think he's Chuba had a couple scares last year. I think they realized they don't probably need to give him 25 touches a game or 25 totes for that matter. I think they were more than happy to bring on Rico. They were more than happy to draft Trevor Etienne. I think Rico's is in a good spot here. Could give us some really nice spike weeks there if he does happen to get on the field early and if in the event that Chuba goes down. So we are about to be back on the clock, 3, 4, 6, 1. There are some tight ends here and the one that could stack up for us.
Yep.
And I'm probably going to guess that's probably where you're leaning.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best bet here.
I mean, we could go Roschon. We could.
It was between Roschon and Henry for me. We also have Kate Otten that we could push, but there's a good chance that both of the tight ends that we could stack go. So I'd be fine with just going with Hunter Henry.
Okay, let's tack on Hunter Henry. We'll be pretty much done with tight end. And so that was another thing. Have you been doing a lot of the zero tight ends, as we like to call it, where you essentially don't touch tight end until pretty much this range. I mean, have you done any of those? If that's something you've lobbied a little bit, or are you more wanting to, get you a firmed up tight end earlier in the draft and kind of play it from there? What's your thoughts?
Honestly, I probably haven't done it as much as I should. Like, I think it's a good idea. I understand why it's a strategy. I'm
Right.
kind of a sucker for just like filling out a roster pretty early. So I
I
see
feel you.
those, and there are just so many. Like, I'm really in on Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle. I think is a great value where
Right.
he's going. I take TJ Hawkinson because I want to set up my
Your
JJ
Minnesota's.
McCarthy stacks. I think John, who I have mixed feelings about. There are a lot of those kind of like pick 90 to 120 range tight ends that I'm just like, I don't really love who else is on the board for my team right now. So I guess I'll throw in a tight end. I probably should, though. I probably should wait on and do more of these zero tight end builds because there are late tight ends that are pretty good. I mean, getting Hunter Henry here feels pretty good to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he
Pat
could end
Fryermuth.
up being the leading, I mean, I know Diggs is there and we've got Diggs obviously, but, Hunter Henry could potentially, he was a very top target for Drake May last year, could easily turn into the one or easily the two, I would think, with their wide receiver room the way it is. Got Evan Ingram is my favorite
Yep.
tight end to
Ingram's
cost.
strong one. Yep.
And I feel like that range specifically because you've got Njoku, you've got Mark Andrews, you've got Isaiah Likely, you've got Evan Ingram. That range right there, and I think it starts with like Johnny Smith.
Yep.
So I feel like that is like one of the pockets of the draft for tight ends that you can start with,
Yep.
and then always go too late, or tack on like a Pat Fryermuth or something, Hunter Henry, and essentially be done at tight end, and not really have to allocate any more capital there. So that's something that I like to toy around with too. I think that's a strong play too, because I think those middle and tight ends right there are dude, just grab one more and be done.
Yeah, exactly. And but I mean, there are Brenton Strange I kind of like as a late round pick. I like Theo Johnson. Like there are, but I feel like every year you hear so much hype about literally every tight end in the league. Like the coaches just talk up their tight ends so much, and I fall for it every year. So this year I'm trying to talk myself out of falling for every tight end again. It's just it's tough because you just like you feel good about like, oh, this guy could be a stud this year. So probably something I need to do more.
Yeah, and tight end is such a hard spot. Notoriously and historically, it's been one of the lowest scoring. Until the Sam Laporta breakout, that kind of opened the floodgates. I think on the tight end spot. Now everybody is looking for that. Which again, then you had Trey McBride, then you had Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
it's tough now because that tight end spot has become almost a premium. There's 3 or 4 tight ends that are right up there and they can really help bolster. George Kittle for saying he knocked me out of. I was in the top 6 in the puppy last year, right? And that week when they played Detroit, and his last catch knocked me down, which brutal. Gibbs killed me. Yeah, because the Gibbs had the 2 touchdowns, but George got that last catch in the last like 4th quarter, and it was meaningless, but it was like an 8 or 9, 10-yard catch, and it just hurt so bad. But we are almost on the clock. You got Otten here. I don't know if you want to go 3 tight ends with Trey McBride, or if you just want to tack on a running back here. There are a couple running backs in this spot. Or
usually for me it would be Giddens or Marshawn Lloyd here. I have no issue with Sampson or Devin Neal. I think it's a pretty strong range for running backs. But I think Giddens probably the right running back too there. So that would be my.
I like Giddens. I agree. I do agree with that. I think that JT obviously if he goes down. There's going to be a lot of contingent value there to be had. He was getting anywhere from 18 to 20 touches last year, and obviously more. Had a really strong end of the season last year. Just absolutely smashed. Got a lot of people advancing. I know he was a really strong pick. So yeah, I totally agree there. The Colts. How do you feel? Let me ask you that because that's a good one too that I think gets played out a lot. How are you feeling about the Anthony Richardson and the Danny Dimes, the competition? Where are you at? What's your thoughts? Are you leaning towards one? Do you think one has a chance at probably playing more? Are you a believer in Anthony Richardson?
Mostly, I hate it. Is my stance. I hate the quarterback competition. I was listening to. I don't know if you listened to. I guess it's ADP chasing today. Maybe it was ship chasing. I don't know. But with Jacob Sanderson, big Colts fan.
No,
and they I think Jacob predicted. He was saying that he thinks it's more likely than not that that Danny Dimes is starting in week 17.
Really?
I don't want to. Somebody on there said they gave it like a 68% chance. I'm not sure if it was Jacob.
Okay. We were on the clock. We got a 3-5-6-2. 8. Otten at the top.
I haven't taken any
Sampson,
Dylan
Gill.
Sampson. I don't think I've taken any Dylan Sampson, so I wouldn't be opposed to getting a share.
Yeah, and hey, we keep our bye weeks aligned. I think I don't really care about the bye weeks, and honestly, that's a hot topic at times too. And Peter Overs had that bit for a while. People get really hot and bothered whenever you start tacking on multiple of the same bye weeks. Do you have a preference? I mean, do you worry about that at all?
Oh, I do. I'm a bye week pro.
Are you
too much? I'm too worried about the bye weeks. Yeah. And it doesn't matter when your players get hurt. What I learned last year, we got to those heavy bye weeks when I was like, oh yeah, I should be like moving up in advance right now because I've been so careful about having like 5 outs at every running back and wide receiver.
It does matter. I agree.
It does until your players get hurt, and then it's like, oh, I had 5 outs and now I have 0. It's just like it's kind of brutal when it doesn't work out. But
right, and then also to that point, if you look at week 14, there are some really strong teams, on bye. I do have their buys, which obviously the Giants, the Niners, then we had Carolina was another one. I think that's the 3 that the Patriots. So those 4 teams are on the bye in week 14, a very pivotal week there. Are you paying attention to that? Which I know we have some Patriots. I'm a Panther guy. Like I've been drafting a lot of Panthers, and I'll be honest, it does worry me just a little bit with them having the bye in week 14, and that is your last week until you hit the playoffs for the pods on UD. Obviously, if you're playing another site, DraftKings is the same way, but like your drafters, cumulative or whatever. But are you paying attention to that? Is that something that you're maybe trying to steer away a little bit from? I think that's something because maybe people aren't thinking about a whole lot right now.
No, so it's not something that worries me. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think whether that should be a point in favor or against, because like ultimately, like everybody's going to have a bye, right? So it's like theoretically, it shouldn't really matter when the bye is, as long as you're like offsetting them somewhat. Right. It'll hurt you psychologically when you get to week 14 and all your players are week 14.
Well, and if you've got a stack, if you've doubled it or you've got the double stack, you've got a triple stack, and you're like, oh man, you're 15 points or 20 points from being in the advancing spot, and that's I guess more so what keeps me up at night when I'm thinking about that in those terms. But obviously you're hoping that your team is strong enough to already have you advancing, and you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing about having these big rosters, 18 points. It's not you have to clear the top scores anyways. So even if those guys are still yet to play, they may still have to score 14 or 15 points. So I understand, and yeah, I agree with you on that. It is not just a major factor, but it was something that just clicked in the head and was like, that's tough having that week 14, especially on some of those teams that I've been stacking, especially late. The Giants have got a lot of late neighbors, so that's tough.
Yeah, it is. It is tough.
All right, we got our last pick here, Neil. Didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize. We're at a 3-6-6-2. We could really do anything here. I think maybe a wide receiver is probably in line. But what do you think?
Any good stacks for us? So we have Detroit, New England, and Tampa.
Yep.
Oh, you go Isaac Tesla.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of hype. He moved up a ton, which obviously they reached on him, right? I mean, they took a big swing. They went and got their guy. They feel like this guy can really help on the outside. Big, strong dude. Came from the University of Arkansas. I actually live in Arkansas, so my brother's, which I'm not a Hog fan, but my brother is, which I'm guessing this is who you want to row with, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. But so I watched him quite a bit this year. Me and my brother hang out, watch college football, on Saturdays. So, but yeah, he was really good. He was really good. So let's see here. Let's recap, Neil. We had a 3-6-7-2. Baker Mayfield, Drake May, Jared Goff, Bijan, Jordan Mason, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, DJ Giddens, Dylan Sampson, Rashee Rice, J-Mo, Cortland Sutton, Godwin, Stephon Diggs, Jalen McMillan, Tisla, McBride, and Henry. What do you give it out of let's do it out of a 10 grade. What do you give our roster here? What do you think?
I think I give it 9 out of 10. I think it's a solid A minus. Like we didn't have a ton of like super strong values. So I do grading in my Discord. Not a ton, but I give the option. And I give people the warning. I'm not going to give you an A or an A plus unless you get great ADP values. Like drafts that like I think that's the rare thing where it's like, and it's not your fault you're not getting an A or A plus. It's just like the draft, you didn't get those awesome ADP values like from the position you needed at the right time. That's the only way to really get an A plus. I don't think that we kind of did with Javonte Williams. Honestly, we needed a running back. We had Javonte Williams fall 20 spots. So it is. That's why I give it a 9 out of 10. I think it was a pretty strong draft.
I agree. I mean, like I said, getting Javonte Williams, which again, I'm not just overly huge on Javonte Williams, but getting 20 picks past ADP, I mean, that's
it's not bad.
It's not a bad.
Not mad at it.
Not bad. No, not a bad look. And seeing as how we were able to fill out the roster the way we did, like I feel like it worked out pretty good.
I do too. I feel good about that one.
Let's do what was it? 3, 6, 7, and 2. All right.
I like that labeling.
I'll be honest, like I'm not a big labeler of teams, and I don't know if you are. I have started labeling like all the episodes because I do want to look back and see, like how things went compared to my drafting off stream. As now I guess I'm a streamer, bro.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of see because I know some people have said that it really decreases, which it's not like we're getting majorly sniped. We didn't get sniped on anything really. I felt like we got everything that we wanted. So I wanted to say, are you a big team labeler, or are you just kind of like you just leave them as is?
Only because I stream. Like I like to know which guests I had on,
and that's
that kind of stuff, and you can go back to it. So yeah, if I'm not streaming, I don't typically label my drafts, which it's not a bad idea because you get later in the season, you get to the playoffs, you want to know. But I usually I just do it once they advance. Like I do it after they advance because then I'm like, all right, now I want to track exactly what I have. But I just wait because then you reduce your teams quite a bit before advancement.
Exactly.
So no need to do it before then, unless you do streaming. Obviously, then you want to.
Exactly. And I'm the same way. Like usually, last year when I didn't stream, I just waited till advance. When they advanced, I went through each of them and wrote out what I had. That way I did know, and I didn't have to click on every single team. But yeah, when you're drafting 3 or 4, and I think you said you did about 600 last year.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right, and I think I did around 400 between the sites. So you did a little bit more than me, but yeah, it gets to be a lot of teams, and you're just like, if they advance, that's when I care. That's when I'm more worried about it. It's not like you can do anything before they advance. So, but no, really strong team, Neil, and I really appreciate you coming on. Second guest here at episode 11 of Extend the Drive. Once again, look down below. That's Neil's channel. Neil, you want to tell us, anything you got coming up? I know you've got, I saw you were, talking about some guests that you're going to have on yours. So go ahead and promote it up, man. Give the people what you got going on.
Yeah, in the short term, all I have is I'm doing a really fun stream tomorrow night. 3 awesome guests I have. See, D-Bro is coming on first. Derek Brown, if you follow fantasy football, you should know D-Bro. Really, really sharp guy. Was the guy who got me onto Puka Nakua a couple years ago. Then I've got Greg from the Coach Speak Index joining me an hour later. So starting at 8:30 Eastern tomorrow night. D-Bro's coming on an hour later. Greg Branos from Coach Speak is joining me. I will be wearing my flannel bikini, yes. And then finally Scott Barrett. So 3 really, really sharp guests. Nice. I'm really looking forward to doing that. Next week I'm actually I'm going to be traveling, so won't be doing a Wednesday night stream next week, but I plan on doing regular Wednesday night streams. I think this year, probably not going to be doing quite as many streams as I did last year when I streamed all 150. But yeah, Wednesday nights at least I think are going to be a regular occurrence for me.
Okay, cool. Well, again, man, really appreciate you coming on. I think that's a really strong team. Excited about it. Definitely going to have you on again. So look forward to that in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess we'll go ahead and give it a close, man. I appreciate you.
Right.
Thanks everyone.